Well, I think if you talk to any presidential historian, Garish, they will tell you that this has been a historic first week. To contrast it, on his first day in office, the first time around in 2017, Donald Trump, as president, I think signed one executive order. As you know, on that first day of his second non consecutive term, he signed dozens of orders, dozens of rescissions of executive orders that his predecessor, Joe Biden, had signed. And there's just been a flurry of executive action by the president since then.
Yes, and one of his major, if not his biggest policies pertains to illegal migration and the policy to deport them from the US. And we saw the Colombian government agreeing to accept deportees after the president's threat to impose tariffs and sanctions. So are things going as planned for Donald Trump in this respect?
Well, I think if you were to ask the advisors around Donald Trump, they would tell you absolutely yes, that he is flexing power in a way that no U.S. president has since perhaps Theodore Roosevelt in the early 20th century, and it is getting the results that they desire and demonstrating to the people that voted for him that he's keeping the promises he's made. Now, of course, not everything that Donald Trump promised on the campaign trail has come to fruition, like stopping the war in Ukraine immediately. But definitely you can see that there is a lot of momentum under this White House, unlike when I was there the first term, where they still seem to be recovering from the shock of winning in 2016. And they've had plenty of time now to prepare 4 years. And then after the election, to start to carry out what they intended.
And staying on immigration, Steve, can we then expect the other countries in the region in Central and South America to perhaps fall in line like Colombia did, including Mexico?
I think you'll see, according to anyone who really takes a close look at Central Latin American affairs, that Mexico may prove to be a little bit more challenging, that there could be more pushback. And I think for the United States, if you talk to economists, that is a very symbiotic relationship, a bit different than it is with Colombia. Colombia, of course, sends a lot of coffee to the United States. There was concern immediately when this happened on Sunday about what would happen with the roses for Valentine's Day coming up. But we also perhaps should take into consideration that everything might not be settled between Colombia and the United States. There's been some very strong rhetoric coming out of the presidential office in Bogota, despite this apparent agreement now, as the White House puts it, to basically follow everything that the United States has demanded.
As you said earlier, I mean, this time Donald Trump is more, I suppose, prepared in terms of running his administration in his second term. So as he pushes ahead, do you think that he will pursue his plans to overturn Birthright's citizenship, which is one of those executive orders that he signed on day one?
Well, if you talk to the legal analysts and probably anyone who's taken a course in constitutional law, they will tell you that the president cannot just with the stroke of a pen change things in the United States Constitution. And this birthright citizenship, which means if you're born on the soil of the United States, then you are a citizen of this country, that's not going to be so easy. And probably it's already met one judicial rejection. And as this works its way through the legal system, perhaps it goes to the Supreme Court. But to most legal analysts, this one looks more symbolic than something that will probably actually occur.
Of course, as we talk policy, Steve, of course, there is a human side to all of this. Can you give us a sense of how, immigration officials are rounding up these migrants and how they're being treated before possible deportation?
Yes, we're hearing about mass raids in New Jersey and also in the Chicago area in Illinois. There this was not unexpected that there would be, within the first few days, some big demonstrative raid for the TV cameras. Again, a way to demonstrate to the Trump voters that he's doing what he intended. Whether the apparatus has the resources to continue this out for weeks and months on end at such a high tempo remains to be seen. One thing is clear from the reports we've seen from across the country with undocumented migrants, many of them who have families in this country and have been working for years. There's tremendous nervousness with some saying that they're not going to work for now because they're worried that there could be a big raid in their workplace and they could be rounded up, sent back, and separated from their families.
Steve, on other matters, of course, the firings have begun, and we've seen at least a dozen federal watchdogs targeted, the inspectors general that are meant to combat corruption and fraud in the public service there, the federal service. Does he plan to replace them, and might these layoffs be challenged in the courts as well?
Yes, it does appear we've heard from a council of these inspectors general that they believe that this action is not legal, and most certainly there's going to be some court challenges to it. On the other hand, I've heard from some up on Capitol Hill who say, look, these are presidential appointees. He has the right to change them. If he wants to keep these positions vacant for a period of time, that's up to him. Obviously, as was outlined during the campaign, and we heard a lot during the first administration, there was this challenge to what Donald Trump and others have called the deep state, basically to upend the administrative bureaucracy of the government. And there's no indications that that is not going to stop. We're hearing about loyalty tests for any presidential appointee, which is a break from a recent tradition.
Yes, and across to the west, as we are speaking right now, wildfires are still burning in some parts of California, and it's prompted Donald Trump, among other things, to either reform or eliminate the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA. So why does he possibly want to get rid of it?
Well, FEMA has been unpopular to some degree, and there's been some suspicion about it as well, as we saw recently with the hurricane in North Carolina. There's no doubt that the federal government could work faster and more efficiently to get aid to people in disaster areas, but FEMA's supporters say, look, this is a structure that has evolved over time. These people really know what they're doing. This is the best mechanism, even though the president may think that states should be able to do all this themselves. Some of these disasters are so immense, they overwhelm the capacity of the individual 50 states, and the federal government's help is really needed and welcomed. So that's one definitely to keep an eye on, Goresh. I think we're going to hear a lot about FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, for some time to come.
Okay, Steve, Herman, always good to get your insights there from the U.S. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.